So these are our Crystoleums. So they're two special kinds of photograph, and they are of Walter Whitmore Jones, who you may know as the man who codified croquet at Chastleton, and his brother Willie Whitmore Jones. Now, they and their siblings sat their portraits, their photographs, in around the 1860s. And then later on in the 1880s, those two photographs have been turned into Crystoleums. Now, you don't have to have a specialist to create a Crystoleum. They could have bought a kit and done it at home, which kind of fits with their personalities. They were quite quirky. They were really into inventions and new technology, so it totally makes sense that they'd want to be at the forefront of this technology. Now, what's a Crystoleum? Well, it's two layers of concave glass with emulsion and coloured pigments on the layers, which when they sandwich them together, it creates this effect of a colour photograph, which was really cutting edge at the time. So what's particularly interesting about this conservation work is that although Willie was in quite good condition, although they're very sensitive to light, poor Walter at some point had been dropped, and you might just be able to see some cracks, but if not, we'll post a photograph so you can see what a state poor Walter was in. So someone had dropped him at some point, and then sticky tape had been used to kind of repair him, which on the one hand is great because it meant we kept all those tiny little pieces of glass, and they were really tiny. But on the other hand, it meant that when the conservator was doing the work, she was having to peel back the sticky tape but try not to lose the paint that was on there, so we'd lose part of the image due to how sticky sellotape is. But it's taken hours and hours of painstaking work by a very, very talented conservator to get Walter back into one piece. But what was interesting is that as she peeled back those layers, she realised that the backboard for Walter's image was actually been reused, and so it was part of a piece of packaging addressed to Mary Whitmore Jones, who's Walter's sister, and it was dated the 25th of February 1886. So we know that this picture must have been created at some point not long before that, because the technology wasn't available until the 1880s. So that gives us a much narrower window for when we know these objects were created. So yeah, we look forward to showing them to you when you're able to come back to Chastleton.